When we came to Alaska, we blazed the trails through her splendid and primeval forest, or rested beside our campfires at the base of her grand and glorious mountains. When we drifted down her quiet and magnificent streams, or cruised along the many wide and beautiful bays and inlets of her majestic shoreline. When we had gathered in winter quarters and were impressed with the silent grandeur of her Arctic winter, we had dreams. Some of our dreams have since become great realities.
Others are realizing themselves around us every day, but we are still dreaming. It is high time that we awake to the fact that we have rights in the land of our discovery, and that we owe duties to the country of our peaceful conquest.
We revealed to the world the secrets of Alaska's treasures, and we opened the gates and drew upon ourselves a tidal wave of humanity. It was but natural that we became engulfed in the flood. We were carried along on the breaking crest of the wave, and, crestfallen, were scattered throughout the land.
Since then, the tides of humanity have ebbed and flowed in Alaska. They have been steadily adding to her fullness, so that today the rising waters are threatening to efface much that has become dear to us and much that will be precious to our children.
It is therefore highly opportune that the pioneers have rallied and that they are gathering themselves together and are coming again to the front. Alaska is calling to them to preserve the memories of her early struggles. Alaska needs them to lead and pave the way for her greater future.
When man, in his search for wider freedom, goes into voluntary exile and enters the wilderness, he becomes weaned from sordid desires by his closer communion with nature, and he soon outgrows the petty prejudices and narrow views of his former surroundings.
He is broadened and he is made a better man by imbibing directly from nature's breast the grand principles of humanity. This wise nature nurtures the pioneers and fits him to be the leader who, without bias and prejudice, can determine what is best for the Commonwealth.
Alaska is about to enter the era of her development when she must adopt rightful measures and when she shall create permanent institutions. At such time it well behooves the pioneers to meet in solemn council, diligently to review existing conditions, and earnestly to deliberate on their country's welfare and needs. They will fearlessly suppress what is harmful. They will strongly uphold what is right. The future happiness of Alaska is largely depending on their honest determination.
We have in Washington, D.C., a strong and honest executive who is earnestly endeavoring to form for himself a truthful conception of Alaska and her needs so that he might rightly direct legislation.
He is addressed by many who are only seeking to further their own little and selfish needs. Let the pioneers of Alaska become a source of truthful information.
The men who sacrificed home and home ties to open up Alaska will not shrink from sacrificing where her welfare is concerned.
There are prevailing amongst us many contentions, and we are surrounded by strifes which are hindering the better development of our country. It is our duty to search for and establish harmonious conditions. Let the pioneers of Alaska be high-minded arbiters who, with malice toward none and charity for all, shall seek to maintain rightful and fruitful peace.
Let us, therefore, reunite ourselves in fraternal bonds for our own and our country's greater good. Let us solemnly pledge ourselves to gather and to preserve the relics and early history of Alaska for the benefit of our children and the future state, to hold out a protecting and lifting arm for the natives whose frugal fare we often shared in earlier days, to deliberate earnestly and to work unselfishly for the betterment of Alaska and her social, political, and economic institutions.
Let us so behave ourselves that our badge will become a badge of honor, and that our word and counsel will be respected throughout the land.
We propose that we annually celebrate the birthday of Seward and that the bust of this great statesman, whose foresightedness saved Alaska for our Union, shall forever occupy the place of honor in our council chambers, so that by looking up at him, we shall be steadily reminded of our high resolutions, not to let perish from the earth, but to plant firmly and to uphold strongly in Alaska our great American institutions.
He stood beside his great chief in the days of our severest trial, so shall Alaska stand by the Union. Such are the pledges and such is the spirit of the pioneers of Alaska.